All right, guys, I came across this video of a Cessna 120 caught in helicopter wake turbulence. I don't know if you've seen this video, but I feel like this is a good lesson to share because it's something that I think is often overlooked in the schools. We talk about wake turbulence all the time from fixed wing aircraft, heavy, clean, slow. We talk about how to avoid wake turbulence and what happens if you do encounter wake turbulence from an aircraft. But have you ever seen what happens if you could it depends on how light your aircraft is and positioning, but this is what happens when you encounter wake turbulence, or could possibly happen when you get hit by what's called rotor wash, which comes from a helicopter. All right, go and watch this with me. And that was a massive impact, massive impact. And from the description here, it looks like what's happening is, well, at least in the description, it says, hey, Cessna 172 pilot lost control during a go-around as it encountered wake turbulence from a slower hover taxi helicopter at Upland Cable Airport. But yeah, pretty crazy. So it looks like he was actually commencing a go-around. So he already had a dirty configuration in, which probably meant he had all of his flaps out. And yeah, he got hit by this rotor wash, and I think we underestimate how powerful rotor wash is. But I was watching this video right here. It looks like a French YouTube channel, and they talk about the effects of rotor wash. If you guys want to watch this, we'll play it here in a second, where the vortices that are generated from a hovering aircraft are way, way stronger than a forward-moving helicopter. And what happens is all these vortices are, I mean, if you just think about this, all these vortices are being generated, right? And it said that these vortices span out upwards of 3 helicopters out from itself. So pretty wide distance, okay? So there's a helicopter and then 3 plus it. That's how they explain it anyways. So that's a wide radius, and it's coming down this way. So all these vortices are kind of hanging around this runway. And then as it generates more of a hover, those vortices get stronger. And this Cessna 120 is a light aircraft, and he's already in a bad configuration for this, okay? That guy didn't stand a chance, honestly. So I think your best bet if you encounter something like this is to maybe, it sounds like he was already doing it, but think about performing a go-around ahead of time. These vortices on this rotor wash can last up to 2 to 3 minutes. I asked another helicopter pilot about it, and he said, yeah, they generally last 2 to 3 minutes. And I'd imagine that if you have I don't know, a quartering tailwind or something like that, that keeps those vortices there, kind of like with the fixed wing, they could last even longer. So yeah, pretty crazy. You can tell that this guy put in power to do a go around, but it was already too late. Like, you can hear the power go in. Boom, right there. And at this point, the proper input would have been opposite rudder, nose down, but I don't even think he had enough time. And I think that those vortices just, I don't even know if he stood a chance. But look at the distance between the helicopter and where he starts hitting the vortices. Like, that's a good 500 to 700 feet. That's a huge distance. And then you could tell right here, look at, he speeds up. Wham! And then it's like a tornado that he just flew into. And this guy hit head first. And then what's crazy is that he hits this, and I get it, he has like momentum built up, but he keeps getting pushed further and further away because that wing is up. But it says there's more info here. Let's check this out. I'm gonna watch that. But yeah, crazy. Was there a fatality? No, there was no fatality. There's one occupant. It was a Continental. Oh, that was the engine, Continental 85. And this was in Upland, California. Oh, I'm familiar with that. Oh, it's near Riverside. Okay. Narrative. The pilot of the tailwheel-equipped airplane reported that he was on approach to land at an uncontrolled airport behind 2 helicopters. An airport surveillance video showed the accident airplane hovering or flying over the runway about 20 seconds after the helicopter was in a slow hover taxi adjacent to the runway. The pilot reported that he saw the helicopter and decided to land long to maintain separation. He added that while on final, he saw a helicopter cross the runway, so he increased engine power to attempt to go around. That was good call if you see an engine or a helicopter cross a runway like that. But I'm like, what's that helicopter pilot even doing radio calls? You know what I mean? Because if I had time and, you know, he said he was crossing the runway and I was on final, I would definitely do a go around way before that. About 1/3 of the way down the length of the runway, the airplane encountered helicopter downwash and the airplane entered an uncommanded steep right bank. The pilot applied opposite aileron, but he was unable to maintain control of the aircraft. So I said, you know, the proper input would have been to like push the nose down a little bit opposite rudder, but you know, I speculated that those vortices were too strong that he didn't even have a chance, and that's what he said here. Subsequently, the airplane impacted right of the runway and sustained substantial damage to the right wing and fuselage. The pilot reported that there was no precursors to the accident with mechanical failures and engine failures. So probable cause, the pilot's loss of control, airplane control during a go-around as it encountered wake turbulence from slower hover taxiing helicopter. And I bet you if we dug further into this, like we would be able to find, oh wow, here's a picture of the accident right here. Look at this, guys. Dang, that thing is absolutely, this guy's really, really lucky to be alive. Really lucky to be alive. When did this happen? January 3rd, 2024. Oh, this is pretty recent, huh? It's just a year ago. I'm familiar with this area, though. I actually grew up in these mountains right up here. Crazy. But, yeah, be careful with wake turbulence, guys. And there's this video right here. Also, I remember encountering wake turbulence at night. As a student pilot, I was doing my 10 takeoffs, 10 landings at a towered airport at night. And that takes forever, especially if you're getting vectored. I was getting vectored like crazy. And, you know, I was leaving the airport, or sorry, I was in the downwind, and I kept getting hit by really, really bad turbulence. And I was like, what is this turbulence? It was so strong and it was really disorientating. And then I realized it was wake turbulence. And I've flown through wake turbulence many times now at this point, and it always shocks me at how strong wake turbulence is. Wake turbulence can be stronger sometimes than just normal flying along turbulence. And it hits you so hard and so fast. And yeah, so let's watch this real quick.
The vortices of each blade interfere with the following blade, and as the helicopter flies forward, the vortices assemble to wakes. In hover, the effects of the downwash are globally located in a disk of around 3 times the rotor diameter.
Look at that. That is crazy. So this is what's happening in a hover. So here's the ground down here. So all these vortices are being generated downwards and then they go outwards. And I'd imagine that they rotate in at that point.
Familiar with the downwash, as it can be a risk at low height for the helicopter and people on ground. When the helicopter is in forward...
Interesting. It's at risk. I'm not a helicopter pilot, so I don't know anything about this, but it says it's at risk for the helicopter pilot too.
It works as an airplane wing. Mm-hmm. At the left and right borders...
So when the helicopter is in forward flight, it creates these vortices that are similar to a fixed wing. So the low pressure, the high pressure seeks out the low, the vortices come out the back, and they do that rotate. Now, if you have a quartering tailwind, meaning the winds are coming from back here, it's going to push those vortices back on the runway.
The downwash, a large pair of vortices forms, similar to airplane wake turbulence. Also, strong vortices generate additional small-scale turbulence within the whole wake system. The descending wake turbulence system is sustained for up to several minutes after being generated, which can mean hundreds of meters.
Hundreds of meters. There we go. So that's what we just talked about. I actually am happy the way that this video came out. I kind of just went into this thinking like, okay, what can I possibly take away from this besides just telling you that wake turbulence is bad from helicopters? But I like that the NTSB released that accident report, and then this video helps a lot too. So, all right, what can we learn from this? We're student pilots, or we're always, even if you're not a student pilot, we're always learning, right? As, what's his name? M0A? I haven't watched the guy in forever. He goes, a good pilot is always learning. But yeah, so what's the main takeaways? Is that vortices, rotor wash from helicopters can last up to 2 to 3 minutes, sometimes even longer, right? If you see a helicopter cross the runway and you're on final, it's probably a good idea to do a go-around, okay? And understand that these vortices are more powerful in a hover, right? So these are all things to look out for. And that those vortices can span out several hundred meters. And we saw in that video that when he crossed the runway, there's like a good 500 to 600 feet of that downwash. Okay, so be careful with this, guys. I think it's really insidious, and I think it's looked over. I'm happy to say that I got a partnership with Flying Eyes Optics. Yeah, and they sent me their glasses, and I'm impressed. I've been wanting these glasses for the last couple of years now, but I haven't been able to afford them up until recently. And yeah, so I'm going to be promoting these on my channel now. I have a discount code for you guys, Munden10. If you guys want to use that code, you get 10% off. But I'll create a product review. They're sending me more glasses to review for them. But so far, I'm impressed. It has these what do you call like these I don't know where your ears go. Why can't I remember these? But they bend, and I was skeptical when I was talking to one of the marketing managers. He's like, "You actually don't feel them when you're under your headset," because I stopped wearing glasses when I was wearing my Bose headset because it would just dig into your nose and it would just squeeze your head, and it was driving me insane. So I stopped wearing them. And then, he told me, he's like, yeah, you won't feel these under your headset. I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll see about that. And I wore them for a good couple hours, and you literally forget they're on. I couldn't believe it. So I wouldn't promote something on my channel if I didn't believe in it and think that it was a good product. So yeah, Flying Eyes, my discount code is going to be below. You guys are going to see me in these all the time, to be honest. But Munden 10. Okay, guys, I appreciate it, and I will see you for the next video.